And welcome to this edition of ACAP Today for Wednesday, the 13th of May, 2020. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the program today, where we're going to be speaking with the Aroostook Adult and Community Education Directors from north to south throughout Aroostook County. We'll be checking in with them in just a little bit about how life is different in the world of adult and community education, as well as how things are looking as they move forward and start to bring folks back into buildings and the like, and continue to teach at a distance as well. So we'll meet with them in just a little bit, but before we get to that, as we always do at this point in the program, we want to bring you some news and information that you can use as it relates to how the Aroostook County Action Program is there for the community at this time. First, we do want to remind folks that we have made the decision to keep our offices closed at least through the 31st of May, but most of our services are being delivered remotely, and we've just recently this week resumed services in homes for individuals and families that are needing weatherization services or home improvement services and have been on our schedule for that. So we are adhering to proper protocols as it relates to that, but all of our services at this point are available remotely. We also have started a partnership with the 2020 Census Bureau this week, where we are able to help Aroostook County families ensure that they are counted in the census. So if you have not completed your census yet, and we are still below the 50% rate in Aroostook County and lagging behind the rest of the state, if you have not filled in your paper application or are able to go online, please call our office and we are able to facilitate a meeting time with you and a Census Bureau representative to call you to do that information over the phone. So please do call us if you are in need of assistance with completing the census. We're also reminding folks that if you are interested in ACAP services, you can certainly pick up the phone and call us, but our website also has a feature on it at the bottom where you can request assistance online, and you can complete some of the information that our folks will be entering into a portal regardless, and then when we return the call to you, we'll actually be able to talk to you about the services that you're presumptively eligible for when we reach out to you. So another way that you can connect with us at this time. We're also offering some financial literacy classes in the coming days here on the 27th, 28th, and 29th of May from 6 to 7, our Improving Outcomes for Youth. Community educator Chastity Holland will be offering this 3-class series. They've been very popular. She's offered a couple electronically since the pandemic began. Completion of all 3 classes entitles participants to a $25 gift card, so please do reach out to Chastity at cholland@acap-me.org and get yourself signed up for that class. This is specifically for youth ages 16 to 24 years old. We're also offering, through our partnership with the United Way of Aroostook and the other partners in the Aroostook Cash Coalition, phase 1 of their updated tax service is starting, and we are inviting folks to call the United Way at 764-5197. The tax filing deadline has been moved to July 15th, as many folks are aware. This specific phase of tax appointments are completely held over the phone and are specifically to help Maine property file with the Maine property tax fairness credit. The Home Energy Assistance Program here at ACAP is helping a number of individuals who have been impacted by COVID-19 and their families economically. We've taken over 5,000 applications so far this year, but over 100 have been specifically directed around COVID-19. There have been waived income guidelines as a result of COVID-19, so we encourage anyone to please give us a call and check if you might be eligible for the Home Energy Assistance Program. This is a great time of year. Our appointments are as soon as next week in terms of availability, and we remind folks that any benefit that goes onto a vendor payment stays there for 18 months or until the benefit has been exhausted, so it will be perfect for this fall when appointments are all booked and folks are in need of assistance with heating, that benefit will remain on your vendor account. We also are taking applications currently for a summer and fall session as it relates to Head Start. We have been given the authority to run a summer session, and we're trying to determine right now whether that will be virtual or whether that will be in person. It's scheduled to begin after the July 4th holiday. But if you have a child, a preschool-age child, that you would like to learn more about the Head Start program to see if they may be eligible to enroll, please do contact us at 768-3045, and we can provide you with more information on both the summer and fall programs. We also are encouraging folks, if you know of anyone who is experiencing homelessness or who is housing insecure, that we are currently offering a temporary wellness shelter, the Hope and Prosperity Wellness Shelter at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, in partnership with UMPI, Maine Housing, and other community partners as well. We have assisted 13 individuals, and we actually have connected some with adult education, which I know that LeRae has been working with some of the individuals in the shelter. So we're working with them beyond just providing them a roof over their head, but trying to connect them with education, workforce, and get them housed on a more permanent basis. So if you know anyone who could use this service, please do reach out to us, and we would be happy to help. And we also have a rent relief program, a new program that has been in partnership with Maine Housing. This is providing a $500 incentive or payment to a landlord for an individual or household that is renting and has been impacted financially by COVID-19. We encourage you to reach out to us or to go to mainhousing.org/COVID-rent to begin the process of the application, and we are working quickly. We've processed over 370 applications at this point here at ACAP as of today. So certainly an opportunity if you are having difficulty paying your May or potentially June rent to apply for this program. And lastly, we are partnering with Northern Light A.R. Gould and ACAP's Let's Go 5210 program for their Fit and Fun series for a May Get Out and Get Moving challenge. We know folks can't participate in team sports or organized physical activity at this time, but we're encouraging folks to get out there with their families or with a friend, appropriately social distanced, of course, to do biking, walking, hiking, running, all of those activities. And as an extra incentive, if you take a photo of yourself or your tribe doing something physically active and send it to us, send it to Dawn Roberts at droberts@northernlight.org, or you can send it to us here at ACAP and we'll make sure she gets it. We'll be drawing a winner each week randomly and announcing their photo and sharing it on Facebook, and they will win a basket of goodies if they are the random drawing selection for that week. So we encourage you to get out and get moving and take a picture of that and send it along to us for a chance to win an extra prize. And as I mentioned at the top of the program, we're pleased to have with us our guests on ACAP today, the adult and community education directors from across Aroostook County. I'm going to sort of introduce them north to south, and then we're going to talk to them about sort of things that cover all of Aroostook County, and then check in with each of them on how things are happening individually in their regions. First up in the north is Stacey Cyr with the adult education program of Valley Unified, I believe it's now called. Stacey, welcome to ACAP today.
Thank you, Jason, and it is Valley Unified.
Wonderful. Next in order, he's actually a board member here on the Aroostook County Action Program. Board of Directors, Dan MacDonald, who is with RSU 39. And Dan, are there other areas that you're responsible for as well?
Yes, we cover Fort Fairfield, Caribou, RSU 39, Stockholm, and we're also taking care of Limestone, so kind of the surrounding area. And LeRae and I, we share some of the regions that aren't covered under our districts as well. So collectively, we cover all the communities in the county, the four of us, and five. One more is not here.
Great. And that you mentioned LeRae, so LeRae Kinney, you're up next, and obviously SAD1, but sounds like you cover some other areas as well.
Yes, we do the SAD1 school district area as well as into Mars Hill, and Dan and I cover Washburn, but I also do Ashland Portage region as well as Easton, and Dan and I both have some Fort Kent students as well. It's important to know that we all work together and make sure everybody's served.
Indeed. And lastly, Joe Fagnant down in Southern Aroostook. Joe, you cover all of Southern Aroostook, correct?
Yes, we're primarily called Houlton Hodgdon Adult Community Education, but we reach down in the entire region here all the way to actually into Danforth, just right across the border in Washington County. We go down to the Southern Aroostook area, down to Katahdin area, all the way up to Bridgewater. We've had multiple people stretch from this whole southern region to reach out to us too.
Great. Now, I know that there are some specific and unique circumstances in each of your regions, and we're going to check in with you on those in just a little bit. But we talked about some areas that have some commonality in terms of how the adult education world has been impacted by COVID-19 here in Aroostook County. And so, Dan MacDonald, I'm going to start with you to get a better idea of what that impact has looked like.
All right. Well, you know, when this all started, the school districts basically closed down our schools over time and limited our access to our buildings and staff and as well as directors. So in the tradition of adult ed, we adapted. We looked at the challenges. We turned them into opportunities. It's important right now for everyone to understand that we are open for business. We're receiving new learners, new students on a daily basis, and we're serving a lot of the students that we had before. And we're moving forward. So we're really turning this into an opportunity. Some of our teachers and learners are really thriving actually in this opportunity of distance or remote face-to-face learning. And when you say distance learning or remote face-to-face, sometimes that's a little intimidating to some of our learners, but understand that it is face-to-face, real time, just like we're doing right now. We have a conversation just like you were sitting in class, and we try to provide or will provide devices or whatever we need to do to make that available to students. So students can still meet as a group in a class or individually with instructors. So there's still that dynamic of camaraderie that happens. We're serving our learners in college transitions, so students are still preparing to go to college in the fall. We're helping them with their financial aid. We're doing the ACCUPLACER testing and working on those scores. We're doing our high school completion programming. If you're working on a high school diploma or need to, we can bring you in as a new student and start that process while you're sitting home looking for something to do. Our high set prep is going, and we're still doing that. There are some workforce development projects that are still going on. One area that hasn't been impacted that's really tough to overcome is that enrichment, that face-to-face group kind of activity. That's kind of waned a little bit, and we're trying to come up with creative ways to take care of that. The one area that is difficult and we keep trying to work on and make accommodations for is assessments and testing. We have gotten approval to do the ACCUPLACER testing remotely, so we can do that. Some of our intake testing we can't do. Just recently, I've gotten approval to start the high set testing process, the official testing again. So next week we'll start that. Some of the other directors have worked on that as well. So those that have been working hard to get to the point where they can sit for the exam will be able to do that. And this Saturday, we're actually going to be able to do a CNA bridge testing session with a couple of students. So folks that have been out of CNA for a while and need to get back on the registry can come in and take that test so they can get back to work. So the message here, I guess, is that we're open for business, we're working, and every day we're trying to create new opportunities and find ways around this. And as we open back up, we'll be ready. Moving forward, there will be a lot of great opportunities because now we've come up with these remote access opportunities for students that can't travel or have restrictions on financial limitations on how they get gas and cars and things like that can still participate in our programs. So in a nutshell is what's happened collectively. LeRae mentioned we all work together, so we meet regularly as directors, talk about opportunities, share ideas. We actually share students in some of these remote opportunities now. So if you're in Houlton and there's no English class or a high set prep in science, and you want to participate, one of the other programs can originate that, and you can work with students from across the county and teachers and staff.
So it sounds like it's certainly not business as usual, but business with a lot of innovation that's happening to keep the doors to education open for folks, adult learners across Aroostook County. LeRae Kinney, among the many things that Dan MacDonald mentioned was college and college transitions. And I know last week we had Dr. Bill Egler from NMCC on the program, and we were talking about how life is different in the colleges. And so I'm imagining that life with the students that you're working with to transition to college is also different. And so how are college transitions working at this time?
The college transitions classes that we offer are English, reading and writing prep, and math are our focal points. And we also do, the financial aid piece and helping students prepare in that regard. It's important to know that all of our adult ed programs work very closely with our local colleges, NMCC, UMPI, Stacey works with Fort Kent. Joe in Houlton is also a learning center for both NM and UMPI. So regardless of where you live, there's access available. And our goal with our college transitions program is to help prevent students from having to take any fundamental classes and pay for fundamental classes. And when they enroll in the college, that they're enrolled in 4-credit courses towards their degree. And we're able to continue this work. We have a variety of ways in which students are able to engage, whether it's online with the face-to-face instruction. Some students, the issues we have are with connecting, the ability to connect or the lack of technology. And for those students, we're able to send packets, we drop things off, we send things in the mail, we meet the students wherever they're at. I think this has been an interesting situation for all students in all educational situations. And a lot of colleges and universities offer a lot of online options. So for those students that are prepping for college, I think that this has been, kind of great exposure for what some of those opportunities might be. We can connect them not just with our local schools, but any schools across the country, with those remote opportunities. So really, we can help you do whatever it is you want to do and help you meet your goals. And the important thing about adult education is knowing that we meet you where you're at. And we develop a career pathway to help you get there. Our common saying is we can clear the path, but we can't do the work. So as long as you're willing to roll up your sleeves and do the hard work, we can help you make those connections.
Great. Thank you, LeRae. LeRae mentioned, Joe Fagnant, that career pathways is one of the critical components of adult education. And in terms of working with the local workforce, obviously things are very different in the local workforce right now. How's the work going in terms of your engagement as the adult education community as it relates to workforce right now?
I mean, the challenge is how many jobs and businesses are able to, be open and provide services and what our workforce looks like right now. But one of the areas primarily we've done with, adult ed is like CNA work and training, things like that. We also have other sector things. Dan has one, for technology. We've done things with manufacturing. But just to show you what's a little different. So for example, our CNA training where we've done, our licensing through adult education, I have 3 programs running right now, but they're through partnerships with healthcare facilities because students can't, go from one healthcare facility to another or come into another building. So that training is now happening on site with instructors at those sites. So I'm doing that in Houlton, I'm doing that in Danforth. I know LeRae started a program also. And so that's the challenge, is to work with our partners, which we have done really well, and we will continue to do that. We're also very flexible, which is the great part of being an adult ed is if there's a need, let's say all of a sudden we need to ramp up computer testing or Excel, work or whatever skills that workforce needs to adapt. It could be, learning how to do better skills in math so that they're better equipped to, manufacture. We can adjust, we can develop. It's just a different business model right now for adult ed. But as Dan and LeRae said, we're flexible and we can do it. And the greatest thing is whatever I create here. So I created a document for my learners down here. I shared it throughout the hub, through Aroostook County so that they can have it for their situation and it'll be back and forth. So if we're working with healthcare workers down here to get more people into the healthcare system in the southern area and we can share back and forth between north and south and middle, we're all going to share that information and work together. The challenge is getting that student ready for the workforce. But we turn to ACAP, we turn to New Ventures, we turn to FedCap, we turn to our partners that we always have had that partnership with.
Thank you, Joe. Your three counterparts, Stacey, from the central and southern Aroostook portion of the county, have all talked about technology. And I know that one of the areas where technology has really taken off and been that much more important for you these days is in the arena of testing. So talk a little bit about that and about how technology has helped all of you evolve and rapidly so in these times.
Well, as my colleagues have already mentioned previously, adult education is known for our ability to adapt to the specific needs of each learner. We've been doing this for decades, and technology has already been part of our programming. We use a lot of online curriculum. Some curriculum we purchase, and other curriculum is free online. And we share that curriculum with each other as well as with learners. And so learners have already been accessing some of this curriculum remotely at times. We do believe that face-to-face is still important with our learners, especially because many of our adult learners have many barriers that they're fighting through. And they can't always be in class, but being in class at least some of the time is so important to make that personal connection. Using a Google Docs spreadsheet to share information can be very helpful between students and teachers, but that face-to-face connection is extremely important to keep students motivated and encouraged and on task, and just reminding them that they can do this. And so, of course, that's become a little more important, the technology piece during this remote learning. And we've been using that technology a lot more. Teachers have been engaging with students on the telephone, using Zoom, using Google Hangouts, Snapchat, whatever works for the teacher and the student. And there's been a lot more one-on-one learning. So those students who've remained engaged have been extremely successful, and their outcomes have been more definitive because of that more one-on-one learning. However, there are some learners who have been less successful, and because of their barriers, this online learning piece is just not working for them. And so we hope to connect back with them as soon as we can have them in class. And I believe this is across the board, but I know for sure in the St. John Valley, we've shared laptops and tablets that we have in our programs with students to help increase their successes. And that's been working very well, and students have been extremely appreciative of that, and as well as teachers. And as far as testing, again, I believe Dan mentioned this, that some of the testing that we need to do in our programs, such as during our intake process, we're not able to do at the moment. So we're just keeping some of that on hold until we can meet with students again. But I've been in Fort Kent, we've been continuing HiSET testing, and we've actually completed 2 learners who were ready to test, and they've completed during this COVID-19 situation. And so we're very excited about that. And we are currently doing a pilot. I believe LeRae's doing it. I'm not sure if Joe's doing it with our testing that we do with all new learners. We're piloting using it for remote learning, because of course these standardized tests, it's really hard to use remote learning because we need to maintain the integrity of these tests. And so that's what the biggest situation is. We need to make sure that the students are in a quiet test taking environment, that they're not getting help from other people in their environment to complete the test questions, that sort of thing. And that, of course, their technology works correctly. So we're currently piloting a process to be able to do that, where we can do that even moving forward after COVID-19. So this isn't a good situation all around for everybody, but some good things have come from it. And there are some practices that we're coming up with that we're going to be able to use with learners even after this social distancing is not in place. Because as was mentioned before, there are some students who just live too far away from an adult ed site to be able to travel frequently. They can't afford the gas, or their car isn't reliable, or they don't have a babysitter, or, all the many barriers. And, we're also working with each other in making future distance learning plans and using technology more frequently with each other. So again, if, you know, for example, I've been struggling in my area to run a CNA class, not because I don't have instructors or curriculum or space, because I have all of that, but it's hard to find students who want to commit to a CNA class. You know, this past year I had 17 people in choir and only 2 people committed to taking a class, which I can't run a class for 2 people. But can we do that using our partners? Can we do a distance learning class because Dan has a class in Caribou and I have my 2 learners who really want to get certified, so can they participate distance-wise? So we're coming up with plans to do that. And personally for me, I've come up with some new projects that partner with partners such as ACAP and DOL and the Workforce Development Board for a youth summer program. For employment, as well as some soft skills training that we're hoping to start in June. I'm continuing to do ACT testing, which is a test for a National Career Readiness Certificate that some employers use as part of their interviewing and hiring process. And I was able to do a session a couple of weeks ago with Twin Rivers Paper Company remotely. Never did it before, but hey, it worked. And now we have another resource we can use moving forward. And I'm also, I'm personally promoting other online programs such as Ed2Go, which offers a lot of workforce training and enrichment type activities. I got an enrollment yesterday from Texas for one of our Ed2Go classes. So as Dan said, we are in business, we are still operating, we are taking new students, we are doing online intake process, we are moving forward and coming up with new ideas on how to make this all work and work together with each other and with our other community partners.
Great. It does sound like you have a great collaborative spirit going, and but as all of us who live in Aroostook County know, there are certainly differences from community to community. And I think, Stacey, you started to talk about some of the special circumstances that you're working through and with in the St. John Valley. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? And we'll go through everyone. We'll start with you and then work our way south in terms of specificity about how things are happening in the Valley and how adult ed is responding to this, or what the needs are around adult ed.
Well, I know in our area, serving the youth, which is typically age 16 to 24, has been a real challenge for us. And I think that's a challenge everywhere, but in the St. John Valley, we don't have as many ready resources. We no longer have, you know, an ACAP office in Madawaska, you know, not due to anyone's fault other than just staffing and need and budgets and, you know, all of that stuff. We don't have a career center in Madawaska. We don't, and yes, we can connect people to Presque Isle, but when people already have so many barriers, asking them to travel to Presque Isle is just too much for them oftentimes. So we're finding it more difficult to reach these youth. So that's one of the reasons why we're working together to try to start this youth program that we can potentially use as a pilot for other areas and maybe continue doing in our area. The other thing too is that because of that, I do rely on my partners, because that's not the only area such as CNA. I just can't seem to find the students willing to commit to that class. It's a large commitment. So depending on my partners is essential for my programs in the Valley to be successful with community members.
Great. And Dan MacDonald, what about you in the Caribou, Fort Fairfield, Limestone, and that corridor area? What are you seeing as some of the specific challenges that are perhaps unique? Oops, you're on mute, Dan.
Thank you, Jason. And Stacey mentioned the intake process and the assessment. And so that's one of our challenges. Is in the past, we've used something called the CASAS test, where you come in and you get assessed in reading and math to figure out where you're at. You specifically, where are you at? So we don't just poke you into a class and say, here, go take this for the next semester. We specifically look at the skills that are your strengths and weaknesses and focus on those areas of need. So we've had to be creative in finding ways of determining those needs. Specifically, it's like going to the doctor and having an exam and getting a prescription for what you need, not just a broad, here, go take this kind of a situation. So it helps our learners be more focused on what they're doing and less of a spending time, but more of developing skills. And so that's been a bit of a challenge, but we've made that work. And so new learners coming in have a program that's tailored specifically to them. And that's important for the viewers to understand that if you come to adult ed, you have your own plan that's based on your needs and based on your goals. And that's how we help you move forward on your timeline. One of the, I will say, opportunities that we've had here is that because as a collective here in Aroostook County, we've been working on this remote access learning and shared resources for quite a while. So we're kind of ahead of the curve statewide. So our program here in Caribou has actually been able to offer what we call a Prep Protect. We're going to be working on a CompTIA A+ certification program for folks through the Tech Hire program, and that kind of got derailed because we couldn't come together. But we worked with the state team and other directors across the state, and we're actually offering the Prep for Tech, which will result in an IC3 certification in the IT world. We'll prepare them to enter that CompTIA A+ certification program this summer. And so we actually have students from Westbrook and around the state that are participating in our remote access learning here in Caribou. So that's kind of like Aroostook is on the forefront of a lot of things as far as the adult ed goes because of our tight collaboration and working together and shared resources, which isn't necessarily the way it is in other parts of the state. So,
indeed, sounds like you were better positioned than most to enter into a COVID-19 environment really quickly. And LeRae Kinney, Presque Isle, Mars Hill, Washburn, in those areas, what are you seeing as needs from adult education and specific circumstances around adult education?
You know, and Dan just touched on it. We can't emphasize enough the importance of our collaboration and how that has increased our success. Despite all the challenges, I think for the most part, we moved into distance learning model pretty quickly. And what has been interesting is, you know, we expected to lose some of our students and through connectivity and lack of, you know, just various situations and the barriers. But what was unanticipated was the number of students, both the students that we haven't seen in a long time, sometimes within a couple of years, and even brand new students that have reached out and connected to take advantage of the opportunity of, for some, it's been downtime, you know, to jumpstart their education again. And not only the partnership in our, among Aroostook County and the directors in our adult education programs, but also our community partnerships. As you mentioned earlier, Jason, we are working with 3 or 4 students from the temporary shelter with ACAP, you know, and it's that partnership, you know, that we have had over time that enabled, you know, your people at ACAP to reach out directly to me and say, okay, here's the situation, how can you help? And we immediately got them connected and found a way to make an individualized program for, you know, students that we didn't know and don't have any background on. So that's been really great. Continuing to meet the needs of our community partners. We're working with, actually we started working with Northern Light Health on developing a medical assisting program certification with them. And that's something, you know, has been put on hold for obvious reasons, but also something behind the scenes we've still been working on. So as soon as you know, some of these restrictions are lifted, we'll be able to move forward with that. And other partners like the Academy of Medical Professions, the nursing home and Maine Veterans Home, to be able to continue to train CNAs. You know, we face the challenges and the roadblocks one at a time. And we've really tried, I think we've been successful at turning those into opportunities, never turning away a learner, and never saying, oh yeah, that would be great, but we just can't. That's not in our vocabulary. We find a way to make it work. And as Dan said, some of our students, some of our teachers are absolutely thriving in this. It's less than an ideal situation for many, but others have found a true connection, and they're very successful. And that won't go away, even when our doors open. So that's been exciting. I think that we've learned a lot about ourselves and the things that we're capable of as a region, as a community, and that's been exciting.
Great. And Joe, lastly, down in Southern Aroostook, have you found new opportunity, and how have you responded to the community and the community responded to adult education during this time?
Yeah, we're in a unique situation because we're not located in a K-12 school. We're located at the Houlton Higher Education Center. So we were able to stay open through the beginning of this, and we're going to reopen potentially face-to-face in July. We're not certain because University of Maine Presque Isle will make that determination. So we kind of remained open and saw students and then kind of shut down, and now we're reconnecting with students. The toughest thing is whatever we create, no matter what we do, it's still on the person to also hold up their end. And that's really hard because of those barriers. We always had a great relationship with ACAP. Mary Duff here in Houlton would be in our building on a weekly basis, meeting with our students, and we'd look at services. We're turning again, as we move forward this, to our partners, ACAP, FedCap, the Career Center. We had a different project going early on with college students because we are a college center, and I'm the director of Northern Maine Community College down here, of trying to support them this past year. And we're going to reach out to those students because it's been a challenge for college students. And we're going to continue to do that in the Southern Aroostook area, is to see what students need help, because it's not just about the college, it's also about the car that doesn't work, the job they just lost, things like that, where we need to turn to ACAP for that help. Another unique part of our position here is that we do work with the Aroostook County Jail, and they will hopefully be reopening June 1st for our services to go into to help students. And what's unique about that too is, as we have our students there, our learners there, they're going to return to potentially, another community that we serve. And I can always partner with Stacey and Dan and LeRae to pick up those pieces. But right before COVID-19 hit, we were working on a project that was spearheading for reentry and recovery. And we were using, ACAP, and we were using the recovery networks, and we're using our connection to the Career Center. And we're hoping to recreate that because we know that's a big piece. So we're the education and training part of it, but we're going to work with our partners. I think the one thing we need to make sure is there will always be students in need out there. And we're going to continue looking at how to meet those needs. But we ask, through the help of ACAP or any agency out there, is if you do have someone, just reach out to any one of us. And we will use our strength, and we will reach out to somebody else to get an answer. And that's what I want to encourage the students throughout Aroostook County, and the students that walk into any type of service before everything happened, and that are reaching out in different ways for service. We will be here, and we will continue to meet their needs, and we will work as a network here in Aroostook County.
Joe, that sounds like advice, and that was the last question that I had for all of you, is what is your advice for others to get through this most unusual and challenging time, whether it's something that's helped you personally through it, or just what your advice is to others to sort of persevere? Joe?
What it really is start reaching out to us. We have students that are, Facebook messaging, calling us. I had students outside our building using the Wi-Fi, and I opened the window and said, can I take your order? And they laughed and they had fun with that. And I said, when would you like to come back? And they're like, well, we're gonna come back when you're open. I said, but realize we're open. You can start anytime. You can get the help. What do you need? So it's really about what that student needs, and we can service them any different way. Just ask, and again, we're going to change how we do business. Stacey sent out something she does in her area to do this intake process, virtually. So we're gonna look different, and just reconnect with us.
Thank you, Joe. LeRae Kinney, we're going to move from south to north on this one. So your advice for people out there to get through COVID-19.
I just echo a lot of what Joe said. There's no wrong way to connect with us. It's our Facebook, our phone number. We're checking our messages in our office regularly, email. There's no wrong way. And I think to understand that adult education offers a whole variety of resources. And if you're not sure where to turn, reach out to us, because if it's not us, we have the appropriate community connections to connect you to the place that will be able to serve you best, even if it's not adult education. So there's no wrong question. There's no wrong way to reach out, and keep doing so, and keep up the good work. Take care of you, take care of your family, and do what you need to do to get through this. And we're here to help and support in any way we can.
Great. Dan MacDonald, your advice for folks out there?
I think kind of a theme here has been opportunity. So I would follow that vein. If you're at home and you want some assistance, you're helping your kids with your homework, and you'd like to develop a little more confidence in the academic skills that you have while you're working with your kids, we're here to help with that. Reach out. If you've been thinking about college, haven't really thought about how you're going to go about it, here's an opportunity. You have some spare time, reach out to us, give us a call. If you have a job and you're sitting home or you're working and you want to upskill and develop some new skills, whether they be Word, Excel, those types of office skills, I'm sure we can find an opportunity for you. And lastly, I would just reiterate what the other two before me said, is reach out to us. There's no obligation to call and just talk and have a conversation about opportunity. And if you choose to move forward, great. If you don't, you're more informed. So thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Dan. And Stacey, the last word of advice is from you up in the St. John Valley.
And I concur with my colleagues. Reaching out to us is key. There is no commitment. We have so many resources, and we all wear very different hats. We've all been instructors. We are all now administrators. We sometimes wear our social work hat. We sometimes wear our cheerleader hat. And we can serve in so many different areas, and just reaching out and getting information can sometimes be the thing that eases worry and stress, because if you don't know, you don't know. But if you do know, then you have something to work with to make the next step. And the steps can be as large or as small as you need them to be. For most people, there's typically no deadline. So this isn't typical education. You're not in a classroom with 20 other people having to keep up with what everybody else is doing. It's very individualized to what your needs and goals are and what your life outside of the classroom is like right now. So if you have a job, we'll work around that. If you need a job, we'll work around that. If you have kids, we'll work around that. So it's very individualized, and we're here to help and support. And you're not going to get any judgment from us based on your life situation.
Great. Thank you very much, Stacey Cyr. Thank you to all four of you. And as good advice from all of the adult and community education directors out there, we do want you to keep in touch as well. One of the ways, or one of the resources you can go to if you need help or want to even give help, is Aroostook Community. AroostokCommunity.com in particular is a website that we've developed through the Aroostook Health Network, as well as Sweden Street Technology in Caribou. And this resource allows you to log in. There's no cost to log in, and it allows you to post your query, your piece of information that you want others to know about, or help that you might need. We have staff that monitor that regularly and are there to help provide some answers, as well as other community members who provide answers to specific questions that are posted online in terms of need. We encourage you to go there if you are not tech savvy or do not have access to the internet to go online. Call us at 764-3721 and we can help you over the phone, or help get that information online for you and follow up with you thereafter. The other we also want to remind, as our friends through Adult and Community Education have done, is to reach out to us as well. Call us at 764-3721, reach out at acap-info@acap-me.org, connect with us on Facebook, search for us on YouTube. Our YouTube channel has a lot of great educational pieces there that some of our gifted early care and education professionals have posted, as well as our prevention staff, to educate the community. Whether you want a story time read to your child at night, or learn about hand hygiene, it's all there on our YouTube channel. And you can also obviously connect with us online, including filling out that online form. And we leave you, as we do every day on ACAP Today, with our snapshot of the day. We remind you that May is indeed Community Action Month. Today's snapshot is actually a compilation of snapshots that was provided to us by our National Community Action Partnership in recognition of May being Community Action Month, reminding us all of the promise of community action is about changing people's lives, embodying the spirit of hope, improving communities, and making America, and indeed Aroostook County, a better place to live. As community action agencies, we care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. Definitely something we have in common with our friends in adult education who joined us on the program today. So on behalf of our adult and community education programs throughout Aroostook County and all of us here at the Aroostook County Action Program, thank you for joining us on ACAP Today, and have a great rest of your day.